Blog Talk Radio.
There's a direct relationship between having the businesses and being in prison. Go find see how many Asians you can find in American prisons. They ain't gonna be in there. But 51% of your prisoners will be black because blacks don't have any businesses and industries. There's a direct link. Blacks won't practice group economics. Blacks won't practice group politics. If you don't practice, you're setting yourself up. I told that 5-story building, you're setting yourself to get wiped out. Understand the nature of race, which is economics. If you build the first floor, it's economic. Build your businesses and your industries. Control business and industry, and put that pulls in your money, and hold that money, and practice group economics with it. Arab and Asian money bounces 12 to 13 times what it leaves. Jewish money bounces 18 times. Black folk got to learn how to practice group economics. Black Americans spend every penny they get outside their own community. Then you take the money and the wealth that you get from that first floor and go to the second floor. The second floor is politics. You then take that money on the first floor and you control your politics. Black folk must quit allowing people to tell them to go out and vote. Vote for what? Nobody's going to do anything for black folk in politics. Politics is controlled by money. Major corporations who got the money. That's what controls politics. If you have no money, you have no say-so, you have no benefits coming. So you take your money and you control, and you take your money from the first floor, you buy every politician on the second floor. And any politician you can't buy, you rent or lease them to get what you need. Then once you get the second floor under control with the politician, with your money, then you go to the third floor. The third floor is the police department and the court system. You take your money from the first floor and your politics on the second floor, and you control the court system and the police departments. Then the fourth floor then is media. You then take the money that you generate off the first floor from business and industries, and you go after radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, and cable systems, so that you can now inform and communicate with your own people. Right now, black folk own and control less than 35 thousandths of 1% of the media in the United States. Out of 12,000 radio stations, black folk own about 75, 80. That's all. You own no cable systems. You don't have a daily newspaper. You have nothing of importance. You got about one black TV station. And so you can't communicate with your people. You can't inform your people. You can't do anything. You can have Rush Limbaugh and all the rest of the guys talking about racism all day long and bad-mouthing you. And O'Reilly. They can call black folk all kind of names all day long. What are you going to do? You can't respond. You can't communicate with your own people because you don't have an economic base. 51% of all the prisoners in the United States are black people. You only make up 12% of the population. That's no accident. It's because you don't control the economics and the politics. And they're going to go after the weakest people they can get their hands on to incarcerate them. That's the black folk. And what are you going to do in response to it when they over-incarcerate you? You're going to go out and have a march, a demonstration. We're going to march. March for what? Who cares? Marches, they never changed anything.
All right, today's It's My House's podcast is titled The New American Dream, Sleeping Pods, The New American Dream Sleeping Pods. And not only sleeping pods, tiny houses, capsule hotels and motels, hostels. The American dream is, over the last few years, has been redefined. Now, American dream, having a house, a car, and a chicken in every pot. Well, with the house, even apartments for rent, many people, particularly in your larger metropolitan areas, over the last, 20 plus years, there have been evictions, foreclosures. Matter of fact, rent court or landlord-tenant court is a profit center for a lot of the large municipalities now, even some smaller ones, because just what apartments, not all, but many apartments are renting for, or houses are renting for, it's just not sustainable. Many people got bank loans or mortgages to buy a home, and that once again, not sustainable in many cases. So, and then, of course, the McMansions, not single. And one of the reasons why the tiny house movement is so popular, not only in the United States, but in every country that it reaches, is sustainability. Many people who buy a tiny house, not all, but many people who live in a tiny house built tiny house. So when you build it the old-fashioned way, because like 150 years ago, 160 years ago, a lot of people built their own houses. You know, Abraham Lincoln, that log cabin he grew up in, it's more likely his father built that. So we're getting back to the fundamental basics. So you have a lot of people that have no carpentry skills that are gaining carpentry skills, and they're building their own. They're building a house based on what they actually need or actually will live in. It's interesting. I saw a video about Shaquille O'Neal the other night. He has a big, huge mansion. I mean, beyond big. And Ellen DeGeneres asked him, and they showed a picture of it, well, how many rooms do you live in? He says only 2. And that's about the size of it, folks. Most people on this planet, no matter if you're a millionaire, multi-millionaire like Shaquille O'Neal, or a multi-billionaire like the Queen of England, or a person living from paycheck to paycheck, or a person that might be in a shelter right now, most people only live in 2 rooms. You might have stuff in other rooms, stuff occupying the dining room, the living room, you know, whatever rooms you have in your house. You might have stuff in those rooms, but you're not actually living in those rooms, and the kitchen and the bathroom don't count. You use those 2 rooms, but you're not living in those 2. You know, if you spend 4 to 6 hours in the bedroom, you're living in that room. You know, if you spend, I don't know, the recreation room or your home office, most people only live in 2 rooms. Some people might live in 3. Like you take Queen Elizabeth, who gives, her income's like $18 billion a year. Of course, she gives most of it away to charity. And Buckingham Palace, which easily has over 100 rooms, let me look it up right now. Buckingham Palace. How many rooms? Many rooms in Buckingham Palace. Okay, I got it. There's 775 rooms in Buckingham Palace. The breakdown, these include 19 staterooms, 52 royal and guest bedrooms, 188 staff bedrooms, 92 offices, 78 bathrooms. And the Queen, with an $18 billion a year income, doesn't live in 775 rooms. Her bedroom, her office, those are the 2 places where she spends, that she lives in. Now, they're what do they say, 19, they're 19 staterooms. So if the Queen has to give, a state dinner or some kind of state, and the Maharaja or whatever comes in town, okay, she's only in 1 stateroom at a time. Let's say they might have 2 royal functions, state functions going on at a time in a day. So that's 4 rooms. So her bedroom, her office, and then 2 staterooms for state functions, which are not every day. for the Queen. That's the Queen, who lives in Buckingham Palace with 775 rooms and an $18 billion a year income. She lives in, at the max, 4 rooms. But most days, she lives in 2. The bedroom and her office. For normal Joe Blow and Josephina citizens, no matter where you live at on the planet, but I live in basically 1 room. I'm in a house that's got 10 or 11 rooms, but I really only live in 1. That 1 room acts as an office as well. It acts as a bedroom and an office. I use the kitchen, I use the bathroom, but I don't live in either one of those rooms. So the new American dream, and that's why I named this podcast today, the new American dream: sleeping pods, tiny houses, hostels, and potholes. In other words, a lot of people, not everybody, they're scaling back to what they're actually going to use. There are people out here, and we'll do some podcasts on this at a future date, that they have like a pod, a sleeping pod that they can wrap up in a nice, aesthetically attractive bag and carry it with them, and they can set up, if they need a place to sleep, a place to take a nap, that's part of the trend. Instead of staying at a Holiday Inn or a hotel, a Sheraton Hotel, a Hilton Hotel, a Hyatt Hotel, you have a lot of people now that they might do campgrounds, or they might stay at a hostel instead of a hostel, or instead of a Holiday Inn or something like that. They have sleeping pods, which those are designed differently, because it's sort of like the wild, wild west out there when it comes to housing. But the new American dream essentially is going small or tiny. So some of you guys already know that, others don't. If you want to chime in on the topic, 619-768-2945 is the live stream number if you want to comment on it. But that's the way I'm going as well. I'm gearing my business for people who want to voluntarily scale back, or some are forced to scale back. Because there are people now voluntarily living in their cars for whatever reason, cars or vans. There are people that are, you know what, I'm going to do away with the house and live on a houseboat, once again smaller, less taxes or eliminate property taxes altogether. That's the new American dream. Some people are probably still stuck in and I look at the old American dream as a niche market now. There are some people that want to live in a McMansion. That's a niche market. There's some people that might want to live in, Beverly Hills, whatever zip code is. But you have a huge crop of people in the United States and globally that are moving to new markets that existed 100 years ago, but they're coming back. For instance, I ran across this morning, there are tiny house villages that are popping up. However, within the tiny house village community, they're specialized intentional communities within the tiny house village movement. One that I ran across this morning are tiny house villages for women only. And makes sense because they're retreats for women only. And they're women only shelters out here. So, with an intentional community, there's a common bond there. And, type it in on any search engine, women's communities or women's tiny house villages. That's a trend that's going on out there right now. And with these little, tiny house communities that are popping up, they police themselves. They don't need governmental intervention or the government police or law enforcement. They police themselves. So you do have that, like I say, for the new American dream are intentional communities, off-grid intentional communities, niche market intentional communities, small communities where they're educating themselves. Because if you think about it, going back in the time machine, 150, 160 years ago, the average person in North America was more sustainable, financially sustainable, than they are in 2018, going into 2019. Why? Because back then, you learned a lot from your parents or your village or small town. You learned how to build a house without bank financing, without any government loans, without any bank financing. You learn how to do that. You learn how to feed yourself. And what you grew without chemicals and pesticides, today we call that organic, and today we go to Whole Foods to buy it. So Whole Foods is feeding us. 150, 60 years ago, we fed ourselves. That's the new American dream. Not for all. There's a lot out there. I don't know what the numbers are. I'll have to work on that. Many of these people are off the radar, so to speak, or not fully on the radar. But that's, the new American dream is smaller, sustainability, doing more with less. Matter of fact, we're going to do a podcast. I might do this tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Friday. On what people live on in this country or around the world and in this country. There are people, I've run into people, matter of fact, I was in Asia last fall. I ran into people, matter of fact, a whole bunch of people. They can live on $300 a month, $300 to $400 a month with a family. Now, in this country, in the United States, you have a lot of people that, the living wage isn't enough money, to live on. You know what? We're going to do this tomorrow, podcast on this. Living wages. What is a real living wage? My take on it, like I said, we'll go into this tomorrow, is not so much living wage. What people really need to concentrate on is lifestyle. Do you have a sustainable lifestyle? Because there's a bunch of people around the globe and in this country, in the United States, that can live on $300 to $400 a month. Now, if you live in a place like Los Angeles, San Francisco, or New York City, if you haven't been educated on how to live sustainably now, we're talking about anywhere from 1 to 4 people. Because there are people, like I said, I ran across a bunch of people when I was in the matter of fact, in this country, because a lot of people, one person that I got my teachings from was a hippie that lives right here in the United States, outside of Asheville, North Carolina. One of her golden rules is the less I spend, the less I have to earn. In this country, or in Western civilization, particularly Americans, we have the mindset of we spend money before we even get money. But her mindset is, I got to track her down because she doesn't use a telephone. I got to call somebody that she used to work for and see if they can track her down. But her motto is, the less I spend, the less I have to earn. This woman lived on maybe $15,000 a year. She worked for 3 months out of the entire year. She's retired now, debt-free naturally. She lived in 3 months. She would earn $15,000, and that would be it for the year. She would probably give away 10% of that to charity, and she would bank. She would bank half of that salary. $7,500 less than 10%. So she live on $7,500. So we're going to get. I think we'll get in this tomorrow. So 75. Let's break this down. $7,500 divided by 12. That's $625 a month. $156 a week. About $22 a day. So we're going to break it down to that. What's interesting about this, particularly the people that here in the United States and Canada, that, you have to have a certain amount of a living wage. 80% of the people on planet Earth right now, over 7 billion people, approaching 8 billion, 80% of the people on planet Earth live on less than $10 a day. Now, $10 a day times what, 365, less than $10, but I'm going to just round it up to 10. $10 a day times $365, that's $3,650 per year. So 80% of the people on planet Earth live on less than $4,000 a year. Tomorrow we're going to get into sustainability, financial sustainability, because it's basically a lifestyle. We got it back asswards, or ass backwards rather. We're looking at the wage first to see if we can cover the lifestyle. So that's why a beer budget is not going to cover your westernized champagne taste. So tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the philosophies and lifestyles of people, and some live right here in this country. Once again, the less I spend, the less I have to earn. Because we got people out here making $100,000, $200,000 a year, and they're broke. They're broke. All right, if there's no comments, you want to chime in, or see, tomorrow we're going to get into it statistically and then give out solutions on how to handle it. One of the things I'm doing, and one of the things we'll be teaching at our location in Oklahoma, which is, if you don't know, and I'll have to repeat this as a lot of people don't know, is Earth Wealth. Our Oklahoma campus is titled or named Earth Wealth Energy Village. Earth Wealth Energy Village. And we'll be teaching a lot of this stuff hands-on. And then we'll have other pop-up villages and permanent villages. Now, Earth Wealth Energy is a permanent village, but we'll be doing pop-ups in different parts of on the globe, teaching people sustainable methods of living. So if you live in Chicago, New York, LA, or whatever, and your only income is $500 a month, and you got kids, how can you live a sustainable lifestyle? How can you do it in the city that you're in, and then you might have to use a strategy of moving to another location, maybe 45 minutes to an hour away, where your $500 a month can multiply. Because a lot of you, most people who cry broke, earning enough money. You're earning enough money. But you've never been educated on how to select the right type of lifestyle, a sustainable lifestyle to live. And what in the appropriate housing technology to live in. If your income is only $500 a month, you don't need the appropriate technology for housing. Doesn't need to be a McMansion. Unless, now, the way a McMansion would work if you only make $500 a month is if you took a small room in that McMansion and then rented the rooms out. Now, that's one model. Same model, a different model, a little tweak on that is you take a small room in the McMansion for yourself. You can rent the rooms out residential, and then you can rent out office because some people need an office space. That's a tweak on that. You're going to have to share what you got. That's if you're hell-bent on being a part of a McMansion. Because going back to the Queen Elizabeth, 18 she doesn't live in the 75. She doesn't live in every room of the 775 rooms in Buckingham Palace. She lives in, at best, depending on what day it is, 4 rooms. Most days she lives in 2. But she's got rooms for the staff that work at Buckingham Palace. She's got rooms for out-of-town guests that come to Buckingham Palace, state or otherwise. So it's a functional 775 rooms in Buckingham Palace. So we need to start thinking like that. On that note, we'll pick this back up tomorrow. The American Dream 2.0.